From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm David Forrest reporting deadly blasts in Yemen's capital. The Islamic State is claiming responsibility for 4 car bombings that killed at least 31 people and wounded nearly 20 in Sana'a Wednesday. The militants say the blasts were revenge against Houthi rebels who overran the capital. 3 mosques and a Houthi political office were targeted. U.S. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter is calling on Iraq to make a greater commitment to fight the Islamic State. Carter said the Iraqis have failed to recruit enough ground troops to fight the militants that have taken over large parts of the country. He told the U.S. House Armed Services Committee that only 7,000 of an envisioned group of 24,000 recruits have been trained. Syrian doctors and human rights activists told a congressional committee Wednesday that President Bashar al-Assad is again systematically using chemical weapons in rebel-held areas. President Assad has denied the use of chemical weapons. Meanwhile, forces loyal to the Syrian president have added another weapon to their arsenal. The latest weapons are called elephant rockets, named after the noise they make in flight. According to political activists, at least 24 civilians were killed Tuesday in a Damascus suburb by the rockets. Human Rights Watch says authorities from the internationally recognized government in Libya are responsible for abusing detainees. It accused the government of forcing confessions, not providing medical care, and denying due process. European Union governments have reached preliminary agreement to extend sanctions against Russia for 6 months. The sanctions are exacted against Russia for its role in the Ukraine crisis. The decision is expected to be formally adopted at a meeting of the EU's foreign ministers in Luxembourg next week. This is VOA News. Uganda's Electoral Commission is warning all political parties and civil society groups that they would be flouting the country's electoral laws if they engage in early political campaigns. Electoral Commission spokesman Jotham Teremwa said anyone posing as a candidate ahead of the nominating process is out of order. Those comments came after former Prime Minister Patrick Amana Mbabazi wrote a letter to President Yoweri Museveni stating his intention to challenge him for the presidential nomination of the ruling party. The Greek Central Bank is warning that a failure to reach a bailout agreement with its international creditors will result in a recession, a decline in income levels, and possibly even a withdrawal of Greece from the Eurozone. The central bank issued its statement Wednesday, a day before Eurozone finance ministers meet to discuss how to get more emergency funds to Greece by a June 30th deadline. Greece's finance minister, Yanis Varoufakis, said on Wednesday he did not believe an agreement can be reached.
I do not believe so. Eurogroup meetings are not designed to stage fresh conversations that have not been prepared in advance. I do not believe that this preparation has taken place, and also it's my considered opinion that now the agreement has to be reached at the level of political leaders, heads of state, prime ministers, chancellors.
Valdis Dombrovskis, a European Commission vice president, says the bloc will consider ways to help Greece avoid hurting vulnerable citizens.
If the intention of the Greek government is not to take the measures which are affecting some vulnerable parts of population, European Commission is willing to agree to this and look at alternative proposals.
Eurozone President Jürgen Dijsselbloem said on Wednesday an agreement between Greece and its creditors is still possible. As Hong Kong's legislature begins debate on a plan for electoral reform, authorities stepped up police presences. Shannon Van Zant has more.
Debate on universal suffrage in Hong Kong started Wednesday in a legislative session focusing on the proposed plan's electoral reform. Thousands of demonstrators for and against the proposed change gathered outside of city government offices. For many, the debate is also over the city's economic and political future. The vote expected this week is the culmination of months of protest by more than 100,000 demonstrators who pressed for Hong Kong to have an open election for the city's top leader, the chief executive. Beijing instead offered a plan that allowed for voters to choose only among those candidates approved by a panel of Beijing loyalists. Shannon Van Sant, Hong Kong.
And in Washington, I'm Dave DeForest.
That's the latest world news from VOA.